Hello and welcome to today's version of Vision Accomplished. This is an Atlanta urban backyard, and we're going to go over all the ideas for the renovation of this property that check all the boxes and don't break the bank. We're going to start with our patio space. Right now, we have a concrete pad that comes out 10 feet from the edge of the house. It's represented here by this shiny shape, and it looks like this. The client has covered it with some tiles which have begun to wear out and unfortunately are a little slippery, but you can see that the space is not super functional because it's not nearly deep enough. You have nowhere to walk except for into furniture. It's just not functioning very well. So the idea is to transform the space by expanding the patio. The most affordable way to do this, that's keeping in the style of the client, is to use thin pavers. So the plan is to first expand the patio with concrete. We're going to need a thick concrete pour over here on this side. Let me hide the plants for a second so we can see what's going on. We're going to need a thick pour over here. There's already a retaining wall that comes out to support the current patio. It stops about here, so we're going to need to add 2 more feet plus this curved shape, which allows not only for the plants that are living and thriving right here to grow and thrive, but also create some interesting shapes with our pavers. It gives us this cutout border that's echoed on the other side for our little fire pit area. And this line runs straight through, so it's just going to feel right. So we're going to begin by pouring concrete underneath this whole shown thin paver area, including this circle. I have pulled up a video that you can reference on Home Depot's page, and it shows you how to cover an existing concrete pad with thin pavers. The thin pavers are important in this job because we don't have very much room underneath the threshold of the door. Here, not enough for a traditional paver, so a traditional paving project would require us removing all of this concrete, which is just an extra expense that we don't need. And I think this will provide years of enjoyment and plenty of space to live. We have a circle here for the fire pit area. This is the exact dimension of a circle paver pattern that you can buy as a kit. I want to say it's like just around 7 feet from the circle kit. Ends up being about 7 feet side to side, and then 1 row of pavers would border it and is represented here to scale. We're also going to use these border pavers, this contrasting color, as a border for our turf area, just to clean up some of these bed lines and really give your eye a nice line to follow as it moves around the yard. And that allows us to put lots of different plants in these beds and without it being overwhelming, if you will. We'll go back to our presentation and let's talk about the structure. So having a covered patio space is wonderful for outdoor living. Even though this is not screened, it does protect your furniture from whatever drops from the sky, leaves, bird droppings, whatever. So you have clean, nice cushions, you have protection from the afternoon sun, and just a really nice place to hang out. This structure is a prefab kit that we found at Costco. It is 12 by 14, that's the dimensions of the roof. The posts are slightly inset, but it still gives us about an 11 by 13 opening in the middle for plenty of room for even the hammock stand. And you can have an electrician run conduit up the back side of a post, or maybe even on the inside of a post, and over to the center for a ceiling fan and light installation. In this project, the garage is here, and that's where the electrical panel is. So I'm assuming that an electrician will run a new circuit. It just depends on electrician. We'll have to check it out, and we'll run it down and over to our new patio space. There is also already an outlet on this wall here that might be able to be converted, but in the long term, we have plans for a dripping boulders water feature in the central backyard, and that's going to need a plug-in as well. So it makes sense to me to go ahead and have the electrician run at least the conduit and wire, even though this is phase 2, as they install the ceiling fan. So things are changing around here. So you remember the original view. We are removing some of these plants that are overgrown their space, cutting back some of the plants that are taking over the windows, transplanting some of the plants. We'll go over that. We are going to preserve this screen of jasmine. It's doing a good job, and there's some roses in there. That's why we cut out the new patio space here to continue to allow those plants to grow and thrive. The structure is getting older, so we have talked about potentially putting a structure on the new pavilion and letting the plants grow over so that the removal of this old flimsy structure would be seamless. So that's looking towards the house. This is the view looking out away from the house. We have a retaining wall. It's about 4 feet tall, about 2/3 the way back from the house in the backyard. And then we have a very steep hill here. I think it drops off like 4 or 5 feet over 12 feet. It's a steep hill. And right now it's being supported by all these juniper roots. So we've had lots of discussions about whether or not to remove the juniper, cut back the juniper. We also have tons of weeds growing up in here, and it's very difficult to get to the base of a weed in this kind of juniper. So the plan for phase 2 is to cut back the juniper to the ground in the winter, and that will allow us to get in there with shovels and clean out all of the weedy trees and such that are growing up. And then we want to replace the fence, so I came up with the idea of replacing the fence along the back side instead of at the top of the hill, because there's a pretty wooded area up here that's attractive to look at and is a natural area that is not going to change. It's a woodland area. And instead relocate the fence a little bit shorter. This is a 4-foot fence right on the back side of the wall. So this will do a couple of things. It'll hide our ugly juniper while it's cut back. It takes a little bit of time for it to grow back. But it will also give us a chance to screen the underside of the juniper. The top is pretty. It's the bottom part that's not so attractive. This screening fence is a system that is available, I believe, at Lowe's. And they sell you these posts that, these are 6 feet, and you set the posts. We're going to set our posts in concrete. I'll show you that in a second. But then you just slide in deck boards, and it comes with spacers, so you can not have a complete wall. It'll feel a little more open and a little more breathable. Here's a picture of it installed at another project that we did as a privacy screen and then a handrail. It's a lovely product, and it's affordable, and I don't believe they sell a 4-foot height of these, but when I got to thinking about it, this probably is not perfectly level side to side, this retaining wall hillside. So by setting those posts in concrete behind the wall, that'll allow us to pull a string across the top of this whole area and have a level, this post could be set 1.5 feet down, where this post could just be set a foot down as needed to create a perfectly straight line, level line for this modernish style of fence. We are replacing the side fences as well, and so I'm recommending that we do these. This is 6-foot spacing, which makes sense for 12-foot lumber. And so I'm recommending that we do a double 3-foot gate. Probably will open towards us, not away, but at the top right corner so that we have access to go in there and get new tree weeds and such. So that is the plan for taking care of the unsightly juniper. Here is an image of our signature fence style. This is the inside with 3 rails instead of, typically it's just 2. So this is just one more piece of lumber on the inside. And then this is what the outside looks like. It just has one more piece of lumber, and it hides those dog ear pickets and really elevates an affordable fence to look custom. I also recommend we use black caps so that it ties in with our screening system. I think it'll be very clean and have classic appeal. Here's a image of the pavilion kit. We are going to put this kit on 5-inch risers just to get this back bar above our house windows. So we'll have to pour a little concrete footer as we're pouring concrete for the pavers. Oops, I'm coming inside the house. Here are the risers represented. Other aspects of this design, the client has lots of beautiful plants. I've left the 3 trees that are kind of in the middle of the yard, recommending that eventually as they get bigger we trim the bottom limbs up so we have a little bit of visibility, kind of like you would a crepe myrtle. Take off all the bottom shoots and then the foliage is at the top. This is a fruit tree, so it needs to stay low, but it's not blocking any view. These weird things represent these trees because, in fact, we're going to hide them because for design presentation purposes, it's kind of hard to see what's going on with the middle trees, but they do add a lot to our space. So the new feature for phase 2, other than the privacy screen, is going to be a dripping boulders water feature. This is a shallow dish-shaped dugout with liner and a pump and backfilled with decorative river rock. And then we stack boulders one on top of another. You can drill holes in the boulders, or you can just creatively stack large flat rocks side by side around a central pipe. And this pump will recycle the water around and around in this system. It's a closed system. It does not need to be plumbed. You just have to fill it up with the hose every once in a while. But it makes a really nice sound. I have repurposed all of the client's plants. She has azaleas in the corner. Those stay. We're going to relocate all the Asiatic lilies to one spot. We're going to relocate all the iris to one spot. I've taken the liberty to add a few plants like this coral native honeysuckle to grow up the wall and kind of frame out this space. We're going to pull the hosta that's kind of buried right now over here next to the Edgeworthia. It's right here, so we're going to pull it out and let it be seen. If there are a couple of them, that's okay too. I've replaced it with some tall evergreen ferns like beautiful wood fern or autumn fern. But all these plants are existing, so we're just going to edit them. We're going to add a new gardenia. We've got one that's struggling out here, so we're going to start over with that. We're leaving all these guys in the back corner. There's also a tea olive buried down here, and I'd like to introduce 1 or 2 of those to this lower kind of no man's land corner down here for fragrance and screening. These are Solomon seal, and these are all just suggestions and can be traded out for whatever looks beautiful at the nursery and will tolerate part sun. This is an upright evergreen. I'm showing a sky pencil holly, but I think we need a little bit of structure in the winter time. Most of these plants are deciduous. You can see the border and how well it cleans up our edges and kind of flows from the patio spaces. And there is an urban makeover that is budget friendly, warm and welcoming, tidy feeling, and maintainable. And this is vision accomplished.